Hi, I'm Bob Wilson, principal and founder of Industrial Andons. We're here today to launch a whole new product line and the first product in that series. This is our tracker series, and what this is going to allow you to do is simply and easily collect information from the shop floor. So I get to go into tons of factories and talk to people all over the world and see what kind of issues they're facing, what they're trying to do. And one of the biggest things is just getting information from the floor, figuring out, what's going on. And so having worked kind of in that space, so our Andon systems do exactly that. So they give you the current status and information around what's going on from our floor signal stations, and that's great. And you can tie, sensors, switches, things like that to monitor other things in with those. But it's not always a feasible solution to put a floor signal station in some of those locations. We'd love you to, but I understand that it doesn't always make sense. So what we set out to do was come up with a way to easily use a lot of the sensors, switches, buttons that you already use, or come up with new ways to get information. So what we developed was our first one is this device here. This is our dual sensor to USB device. And what this enables you to do is you can tie two different devices into it. So in this case here, I've got one that has a couple of proximity switches tied to it. I've got another one here that's got a couple of proximity switches on it. But you could put in photo sensor, a temperature sensor, inductive or capacitive sensors to get whatever information you need. So whether you're trying to count something, whether you want to know the cycle time of something, especially if you've got like an old piece of equipment. We've got a couple customers, they're using some really nice pieces of equipment that are World War II era, and they work fantastic, but they can't get any information off of them. So something like this, you could put all sorts of sensors on, feed it to this device. Now, every one of these devices has a unique ID. So think of it like a VIN number. And with those two inputs that you have, anytime that input changes, this is going to send the unique ID along with which input, and then the status, was it on or off, high or low, and it's going to pass that to the computer. Once it hits the computer, that can then be saved directly to an Excel file. So you could save it to a network location. So anyone could then go open that file and kind of see the current counts or status, depending on what you're using it for. You can also port that directly to an ERP system or any sort of production monitoring that you currently have. So you can point it over there, feed it there. You will also be able to feed this up to our shop floor view system and see all of your sensors that you have, what the current status on it is, and search those, run reports, export that data, whatever you want. Now, having the VIN number and just that port and status makes it a little tough to look up. So what we've done is we've got software that you can go in and rename all of that stuff. So you might want to put the location of where this is at. If this is at your assembly one location and you're using it to count and monitor defects, for example. So those would be your two inputs. So I got a count and I got defects, and then the on-off, you can rename all of those as well. So whether it's something monitoring the location, is it sitting in the location, is it not? So once you rename all of that, that's what gets passed over to whatever system you're monitoring or tracking in. So you can rename all of that. So what that looks like, so this one is just plugged in via USB. If you're only using a limit switch, push button, signal to ground basically is what this is doing. If you're using that, there's no other power source required. It's running off of the USB. And as you can see, as we hit a switch, that this one turns on a green light inside, makes it easy to tell what's going on. You got the red, shows that you got power, or a blue one. So you got unique colors for those two inputs. On the computer side of things, what you'll see is, and we've just got a serial monitor up here now so you can kind of see what's going on. So every time that one of these is switched, and they are independent, so they can, depending on what order they go in, doesn't really matter. It's going to sit there and feed this data into the system. Pretty responsive. So if you're running, say you're counting cycles on a press or something like that, unless you're running, a screw machine or something like that that's doing just hundreds of strokes a minute, this is certainly going to be able to keep up with your standard, even one stroke a minute type of scenario. Now with your switches over proximity sensors, anything that's powered, what you're going to want to do with those then is you will have a power supply. You'll have the positive going to your sensors, the ground. Also, the one thing you'll do is tie the ground into this device as well. So you've got a common ground now. And whether it's PNP or NPN, you may have to play with it in terms of which configuration you're using just to get the right status on from the sensors. So in this case, I actually have a photo sensor and an inductive sensor on here. So as you can see with my hand, I'm only picking up on the photosensor, but if say you wanted to, you might be using this to monitor what percentage of metal is going past it versus non-metal. So in that case now, I'm going to start picking up the other sensor, and you can see I can do it this way as well, blocking it. So this is just showing the input data that's feeding in. The software program that you get with this then is where you can rename all of those inputs to something more meaningful and useful, easier to search in the file. So we're launching this starting next, actually a week from now at FabTech 23 in Chicago. We'll also be at the Industrial Automation Show in Mexico in October. We'll have those there as well. So if you're going to any of those shows, obviously we'll have these at all future shows too. But stop by, check it out. We'll probably raffle a couple of these off or get people to get them. These are in production now, so if you're interested in it, reach out. We're happy to talk to you about it in your application. We will be supplying and having available power supplies if you need it. We have some sensors. We're going to build up our sensor inventory, limit switch inventory. So try to make it so it's a one-stop shop. So whatever you're looking to do, or if you're not sure, on a particular sensor, give us a call. We're happy to work with you and see what we come up with and make a recommendation on that. But we're really excited about this. It's going to be, I think it's going to really help customers be able to get information that they'd like to have and have, recorded, time and date stamped, knowing the duration on all of that. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it, and let us know if you need any help.